Okay, let's start the discussion. Sorry, I was on mute. Let's start the discussion. Okay. Okay, right. So if you read the first part, management accountants use number of decision support models to facilitate structured decision making. Development of these models requires several simplifying assumptions of the reality to make the model simple and usable for day-to-day decision making. Discuss the key assumptions and the resulting limitations of the break-even analysis model. What are you going to discuss there? Discuss the key assumptions and the resulting limitations of the break-even analysis model. What are you going to discuss there?
So, excuse me, sir.
Yes, can we know that?
Sir, මේ statement එක sir ඔබකට අපේ note එකකින්මද ගන්නෙ sir? එහෙම නැත්නම්
නෑ note එකකින්ම වෙන්න ඕනේ නෑ. මෙහෙමයි ඒකේ නෑ note එකකින්ම වෙන්න ඕනේ නෑ විනෝද. මෙහෙමයි ඒ වුණාට මේකේ බලන්නකො තියෙන්නේ දැන් management accountants use the number of decision making support models to facilitate structured decision making. So what it says is අපි management accountants ලා the different decision making models පාවිච්චි කරනවා. It's a general comment.
Yes.
Development of these models requires several simplifying assumptions of the reality. So එතකොට අපි වගේ models හදනකොට අපි assumptions පාවිච්චි කරනවා. We make certain assumptions to make the model simple and usable to day-to-day decision making. So එතකොට ඒක කරන්නේ අපි අර ඉගෙන ගත්ත දෙයක් සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන ඒක බේස් කරගත්ත ස්ටේට්මන්ට් එකක් තමයි ගොඩක් වෙලාට මේකෙන් එන්නේ. තේරෙනවද කියන එක?
Correct.
එතකොට ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා ඒක කියන්නේ ඉසෙස් ප්‍රවේශයක් විදියට අරකට තියෙන entry point එකක් විදියට තමයි කමෙන්ට් එක දාන්නේ. So that you are putting in the context. ඊට පස්සේ කියනවා discuss the key limitation assumptions and the resulting limitations of the break-even analysis model. So එතකොට මේ particular ප්‍රශ්නේ essence එක තියෙන්නේ discuss the limitations and the assumptions of the break-even analysis model. එතකොට ඒක තමයි requirement එක. තේරුණාද? එතකොට මේකේ ගොඩක් අර analyze කරන්න link කරන්න මුකුත් දෙයක් නැහැ. straight forward ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Limitations of the assumptions and the limitations of the break-even model. Clear then?
Clear, sir. Clear, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Okay. So මොනවද මේකට අපි discuss කරන්න යන්නේ?
We assume sales price will be constant in break-even analysis.
Okay.
And also the sales mix, we consider it as a unique one.
Okay.
It's not when it comes to reality. And also we consider these costs like total costs as linear costs.
Right.
And we can divide it into fixed and variable costs equally.
Right.
And also inventory levels, we assume it doesn't.
Okay. Okay. And also variable cost per unit doesn't change. Good. So those are the key assumptions. You discuss almost everything. So basically, මෙතනදී කියනකොට අර පොඩි as an entry point, any business model has a number of assumptions to make them practical. So otherwise, I mentioned that when in our discussion as well, if you are trying to have a really very model that will cover everything that can happen, so you will have very complicated model and nobody will be able to use that. So therefore, any business model, anything that you try to serve a solution, there are simplifying assumptions. However, for most practical decisions, the simplifications will be acceptable to make the model simple and not overly complicated. Right? So that's the general comment. Assumptions on a single product. These are one assumption. Either we have a single product or a standard mix of product. And then behavior of fixed cost. Fixed cost is always constant, that we assume. And the variable cost is always variable. And then there are others, we can identify the fixed variable components of a semi-variable cost. All those things, these are the standard things. So there is a fixed cost will be always constant, variable cost will be always varying proportionately. And other semi-variable cost, we can identify the fixed component and the variable component, and the stock levels will only may not change, and those are the sums. So this is a simple thing that is readily, if you turn to the right page on the book, this is available on your, it is available in the note as well. I think we have given, and also on the book you have limitations to CVP analysis. So that is what you're going to use. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. Now, if it comes to, when it comes to CVP analysis, generally when it comes to the theory, there can be three things that can be asked. One thing that can be asked is, okay, what are the applications of break-even model. You may be asked to discuss about a couple of applications of the break-even model. And then you may be asked what are the limitations of the break-even analysis, or what are the assumptions of the break-even analysis. Assumptions and the limitations both mean the same. If we assume something, if it happens, we can apply it. If it doesn't happen, we cannot apply. So the assumptions and the limitations are both interchangeably used. And that is one thing. And thirdly, you may be asked to discuss something about the DOL, degree of operating leverage. Right? Degree of operating leverage. There can be something which is relating to the degree of operating leverage. Okay, that's all that can come under any CVP analysis question, theoretical discussion. Okay, shall we move forward? Are we there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Okay, now when we come to the next part, Chococo Candy Company produces a single product, a chocolate almond bar that sells for 0.4 per bar, selling price 0 per. Variable cost of each bar, including sugar, chocolate, almond, wrapper, and labor, equals 0.25 in total. Selling price is 0.4, variable cost is 0.25, and then the total monthly fixed costs are 60,000. Right? So selling price, variable cost, and the fixed cost is 60,000. Last month, bar sales reached one. So you know the variable cost and the fixed cost and the selling price. The basic information is there. Last month, the fixed cost 60,000. Last month, the sales reached 1 million units. However, the president of Chococo Candy Company was not satisfied with the performance and is considering the following option to increase the company's profitability. Increase in advertising, increase in the quality of the bar's ingredients, and simultaneously increase the selling price. Increase in the selling price with no change in the ingredient. So those are the three things that you're looking at. The sales manager is confident that an intensive advertising campaign will double the sales volume. If the company's president's goal is to increase this month's profits by 50% over the last month, what is the maximum amount that can be spent on advertising that doubles the sales volume? Okay, the sales manager is confident that an advertising manager campaign will double the sales volume. So advertising campaign double sales volume. The company president's goal is to increase this month's profit by 50% over the last month. What is the maximum amount that can be spent on an advertising campaign that doubles the sales volume? So here, of course, I would say it is just one-step application of the formula, but it is not difficult either, right? So first of all, something that they mentioned is that they want to double the profit, double the this month's profit by 50% by doubling the turnover. So they speak of increasing the profit by 50%. Okay. So if you want to increase the profit by 50%, obviously you should know the current profit. So therefore, one computation that would be required is to calculate the current profit. Is that clear? Okay, so we would know the current unit, right? So when you do that, say what you have been told that your current sales is 1 million units, right? So your current sales is 1 million unit. And this is the revenue, 1 million into selling price is 0.4. Variable cost is so much, which means the contribution is so much, right? And then the fixed cost is 60,000 and the profit is 90,000. So this is what you will have now. So this is our current profit. Is that clear? Make a maybe calculate without doing any of that. In a single line, you can calculate profit equals contribution per unit multiplied by the number of units minus the fixed cost. The formula that we use. You can use that CVP analysis formula and also calculate, you can calculate the profit. So this is one way of doing that. The easier way is actually using the formula. So remember, this is a formula that we can use very easily. See, otherwise, see, profit is contribution per unit into number of units minus the fixed cost. So if you just apply it here, our profit will be contribution per. How much is the contribution per unit? What is the contribution per unit here?
0.15.
0.15, that is 0.4 minus 0.25. These are contribution per unit. And what is the number of units now? Current number of units, how many units?
1 million.
1 million is the number of units. Right? And the fixed cost is 60,000. So when you apply the formula, then it will be total contribution will be contribution per unit multiplied by the number of units. I'll adjust the one number of units. There's a small problem minus the fixed cost, which is. So then you have a profit of so much. This is 1 million actually. These are our current profit. So 90,000 is the current profit. So either you can do the type of calculation I showed you, and this is much more straightforward. You can do the calculation like this. Whatever the way, this is our current profit. Is this clear? Make it out. We definitely need this figure because we are planning for a 50% increase in profit. So therefore, you should know what the current profit is. That is why I did this calculation. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then we have been told that you are requiring, you want to have a 50% increase in profit. So which means you need to do another calculation. You need to do another calculation. What would be the profit with a 50% increase? Contribution at a, okay. So what would be the 50% increase? How much, what should be your profit? You need to require profit of $135,000. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, 135. Current profit is 90,000. There's so many ways that you can do the answer. Current profit is 90,000, but if it is a 50% increase in profit, you would require 135,000 profit. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Then comes the question. Okay, then I'll give you 2 minutes to again think on the same line and tell me. Then I parak hitala balanda. So this is the existing profit, and this is the profit required. Now what you are going to do is you are going to spend on advertising to double the turnover so that you get 135,000 profit. Just think through that and tell me. I'll give you 3 minutes to think again. Those who won't have time to think, and tell me how you are going to do that. Just that thinking is important. Okay, you would have argued in different ways, but let's see. This is the approach that I have taken. So current profit is 90,000. Required profit is 135,000. Now what they say is the sales manager, they can double the turnover without no changes to any changes in selling price or the variable cost. So at $1 million, this is our situation. But if they double the turnover as they have mentioned, the turnover will be 2 million and our contribution will be 300,000. We can do that calculation. When according to sales manager's projections, if the turnover is going to be double, so then our turnover will be 2 million and 2 million into 0.15, whatever the way you do the calculation. So when according to sales manager's projection, if we double the turnover, we'll be generating a contribution of 300,000. So if you generate a contribution of 300,000, out of that, if you keep 135,000 for the profit and current fixed cost is 60,000, when you deduct all of these, we have a surplus of 105,000. Okay, when we double the turnover based on this variable, our new contribution will be 300,000. And if we need a 50% increase and keep 135,000 profit, and then if we have to deduct from the contribution fixed cost of 60,000. So that means over and above the profit requirement, we generate an additional 105,000 surplus when we double the turnover. So that means if you can run the advertising campaign at a cost which is anything less than 105,000, so that means you will be generating a 50% or more increase in the profit. Maximum that you can afford as an advertising campaign will be 105. Initial profit, the required profit is 50% increase. Now, with the double turnover, our contribution is going to be so much. So from that contribution, we need to manage the profit requirement. We need to cover the fixed cost. But on top of that, we have another surplus of 105,000. That is maximum affordable amount on advertising. Are you clear or you need any clarifications? I wouldn't say this, this may not be very straightforward, but this is one way of looking at the question. Did you all get it or you need a further explanation? Or did you do it in a different way?
I did it in a different way, sir.
Hari, one moment. Okay, what about the others? We know the Ruani, did you all get it? Or are you, do you
Yes,
need any
it's clear, sir.
Yeah.
It's clear, sir.
Supun, are you okay?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right. Roshan, how did you do it? Just tell me.
Yes. First of all, I found the revenue needed. It is 800,000 for 2 million sales.
Okay.
And then that I have found out the total variable cost. It's 500,000.
Okay.
So I deducted total variable cost from the revenue and added the profit. So it will come the total fixed cost come as 165,000. So I have deducted fixed cost from it, and then the advertising cost will be 105,000.
Right. Okay. So you have found the total instead of dividing, taking this first. So you said, okay, your contribution will be this, and then your profit requirement is this. So when you take the profit requirement, the total amount that can go into the fixed cost is 165,000.
Yeah.
So from that, if 60,000 is for the advertising, the existing fixed cost, you have another 105,000 left.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. All right. So let's move forward, right, to the second part. Assume that the company increases the quality of its ingredient, thus increasing the variable cost by 0.3 per bar. How much the selling price per unit be increased to maintain the same break-even point? What do you think they should be doing? They are going to increase the second suggestion, increase the quality of the ingredients. So therefore, the cost of the ingredients will go up to whatever the variable cost will increase to 0.3 from 0.25, but still they need to maintain the same break-even point. So what should happen to the selling price? Any answers?
answer will be 0.45. We can use that formula, break-even revenue formula to find this.
Okay, one is the break-even formula, but it's even a simpler one. If you go by the logic course, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Now, anyway, you want to maintain the same break-even point, and your fixed cost is not going to change. So therefore, if your variable cost is going to change, you have currently there's a particular contribution per unit which is 0.515, right? So now variable cost changes. You need to change the selling price in such a manner that your break-even point is not going to change. So therefore, now with the change in the variable cost, you need to keep the contribution per unit the same. So earlier contribution per unit is 0.4 minus 0.25, 0.15. Now, if you want to keep the same contribution of 0.15 with a variable cost of 0.25, so you can put your selling price minus the new selling price minus the new variable cost should be equal to still equal to 0.15. And then you can say new variable price you don't know, new variable cost is 0.25. So then for it to be to the same, so then you can 0.3, you can calculate what is going to be the selling price. But in a simple way, it is the variable cost increases by 0.25. Selling price also should increase by 0.25 to keep the same thing, to keep the same break-even point. But if you, like you said, if you won't do the calculation, you do the calculation proper way, break-even point is the fixed cost divided by the contribution per unit, the existing scenario. So the break-even point you can calculate using that, what the break-even point is. So the fixed cost is 60,000 divided by the contribution per unit is 0.5. So you get the break-even point. That is the first computation. The second point, you still apply the same thing with the new scenario. So your break-even point has to be still the same. So you get the answer from the previous one. Your fixed cost is also the same, which is 60,000. You divide by the new contribution per unit. And then you get the value for the contribution. But that contribution per unit is the new selling price minus the 0.3, which is the variable cost. So from that, you can calculate the selling price. That is another way of doing that. Or else, say this is another way of presenting that. So there are so many different ways, but just get the logic of it. Whatever the way you do it, it will be okay. Right? So the essence is the contribution per, since the fixed cost is not going to change, for the break-even point to remain the same, the other parameter, the contribution per unit should not change. So therefore, you can take the same old contribution per unit with the new selling price and the new variable cost. You have been given the new variable cost, but you can calculate the new selling price. That's what you are doing here. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So then the last part, assume that the company has decided to increase the selling price to 0.50 per bar with no change in the advertising ingredients. Compute the sales volume in units that would need to needed at the new price for the company to earn the same profit as it earned. How do you do this? Selling price will increase by 0.5 up to 0.5. No change in the advertising or ingredients. Compute the sales volume in unit that would be needed to at the new price for the company to earn the same profit earned in the last month. So the same profit earned in, just think for a couple of minutes and then we'll discuss again. Just see if you want to scribble with a piece of paper on a piece of paper, just do that and then we'll come back to the discussion again. I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay. So the company is going to increase the sales price to 0.5, right? So now what is the sales volume required at the new price for the company to earn the same profit? So again, there are so many numerous ways substituting in the formula, but this is what I have adopted. Our new selling price is going to be 0.5. Nothing is going to change. If that is the case, new contribution per unit will be 0.5 minus 0.25, our existing variable cost. So when we increase the selling price, our variable cost is now going to change. So our contribution is going to increase now from 0.15 to 0.25, right? So at this new contribution per unit, if you want to maintain the same profit, which means you have to cover the fixed cost of 60,000, you need a profit of same profit 90,000. So contribution plus profit 60 plus 90 divided by the contribution per unit. You could say the volume required will be 600,000. So profit volume for a profit is equal to the fixed cost plus profit divided by the contribution per unit. If you apply the formula, so on that basis you can calculate. So your total contribution per required will be so much, and then volume required will be very simply 60 plus 90, 150,000 is what is required a total contribution. So that divided by the contribution per unit, you will get volume required is 600,000. So that is the new contribution required would be 60 plus 90, 150,000. And based on the new selling price, our contribution per unit is going to increase from 0.15 here to 0.25. So the new contribution point is 0.25. So therefore, to generate total contribution of 60 plus 90, 150, you would require a 600,000 volume. Earlier, you required a 1 million volume to generate a 600,000 profit, but now you would require a volume of only 600,000 to generate the same 90,000 profit, because fixed cost is not going to change, the profit expectation is not going to change. Now your contribution per unit increases. So therefore, at the new contribution per unit, you would require only 600,000 instead of 1 million units to generate a 90,000 profit. Okay. Are we okay?
Yes, so now it's much clearer.
Right. Best thing is, I actually, one reason that I have worked out in here is since I'm doing this answer on a computer, right? I can do it, but it takes a little time to do this with a pen and pencil, the formula-based calculation. But if anyone is having difficulties, I can show it that way later and also show you that is the volume required, right? So always get the logic. When you get this logic, anything can be done. Last part is now if the sales volume is going to drop by 30% from the last month's sale, now with the increase in selling price, what could happen to the profit? Now earlier our volume is 1 million. Now if the volume is going to drop by 30%, our new volume will be 700,000. And our contribution per unit is still 0.25. So 700,000 into 0.25, your contribution, total contribution will be 175,000. Minus your fixed cost is still 60. And your now profit is going to increase to 115,000. So according to this option, once you increase your turnover, once you do this, increase the selling price, your contribution, your selling price increase, your overall contribution increases. So therefore, but even if the volume drops to 600,000, you are going to still make profit of 115,000. So which is more than profit that you were making earlier, right? If you go by the third option, increase the sales price by up to 0.5 and let the sales drop, but still at a higher contribution per unit, your profit will increase up to $115,000. This is the last part. Okay. I'm not going to spend any more time. Just if you have any queries, you can ask now, or else, like I told you today itself, if you are not very comfortable with this approach, put the formula and try to get the answer on your own and then see what is going to happen. So in the formula, one parameter, the parameter that you have to substitute or make it as the object will vary, but it's just a matter of substituting in the formula. Only two formulas, actually there are three formulas altogether. Profit, volume will be fixed cost plus profit divided by the contribution per unit, the break even fixed cost divided by the contribution per unit, or the total profit will be number of units into the contribution per unit minus the fixed cost. Okay. Right. So now with regard to the CVP analysis, again, in terms of the questions, probably there can be three types of questions. Now, I would say that this may not be very straight for a person who has learned it for the first time, right? But most of the other questions were not so. But then of course, that happens when you go to the exams. It's not a difficult question, but if you are, sometimes some students may get confused with a question like this, right? Even though it is not confusing, right? Okay. Now, with regard to CVP analysis computations, you can get two types of questions and a couple of types of questions. One is something like this: contribution per unit and units, and then you do some sort of an analysis based using contribution per unit. That is number one, a single product scenario. Or else you may get a multi-product scenario where you get a CS ratio and you can do a similar calculation in a multi-product scenario, right? So then you may have different products, total revenue, total contribution, and then the contribution CS ratio. You will be using the CS ratio to do the turnover calculation in terms of turnover, not in terms of the value. That is the second one. Third one is, of course, degree of operating leverage related calculations, where you establish the degree of operating leverage and then you discuss about this. That is the third type of calculation. So that is all what can come to a CVP analysis question, right? So just familiar with this different scenario. Okay. Clear? Harudha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So now I think what you need to do is, after this revision session, you pick each topic. And like I told you, you analyze the different types of questions that have come in these topics. And then now in this past paper that you're going to do, at least one of these questions have come. So therefore you analyze the structure and then it will be easier for you to manage the exam, right? But now you see, even though we discussed lots of things and very complicated questions, now when it comes to exam, 45-minute question, so there is a particular trend and a pattern, right? So that is what you need to grasp. And occasionally there can be a difficult question, but overall the questions may not be very difficult. Most of the things are relatively workable questions. Okay, so if you take this question paper, we completed question 1. And then we completed question 1, performance evaluation. And then we completed question 2, that is ROI. Sorry, the second question on ABC. And you would have seen ABC questions are not difficult at all. Whatever the type of questions, it is same, somewhat similar framework, ABC computation and the typical type of computation, and then comparing the outcomes of the two scenarios and then having a discussion on that. That's all that can happen with the ABC question, right? And then third, CVP analysis. So we discussed this question and I told you what could possibly happen with the CVP analysis question. And then question number 4, we discussed last time, cost benefit analysis. I told you cost benefit analysis in a question like this, one we did last time. So one scenario, so if it is a one scenario, the question can be a bit comprehensive, the scenario assumptions, the theoretical parts, and then cost benefit analysis, and then financial limitation, financial concerns, non-financial concerns, all those things can come in, like the question that we discussed last time. Or else it can be the 1 week before that. 1 week before that, I think we did 3 different scenarios. If that is the case, the question, the depth may be limited, but you will have to spend time in looking at 3 different questions, right? 3 different scenarios, 2 to 3 different scenarios. That's all about that. And we did not discuss the budget related question. That is what you have here. And then this is transfer pricing. We did 2 questions. These 2 questions are more than enough. I think anything and everything to do with the transfer pricing have been covered. For the last exam paper also, you can try that question, right? So that is also not a difficult question. You get things right. And here there is a question on variance analysis. So today what we can do is we will quickly try to do the question on budgeting. Okay, let's try to do the question on budgeting. That is question number 5 on this page, right? So since there aren't much of you, what we can do is I am not going to put you to breakout groups, but you all can discuss. I'm not going to get interfered. So you can discuss the this particular question, and then probably after about 5-7 minutes, let me get involved and we'll figure out how we are going to do this. Are we okay? Right. So just start going through question number 5. Right, within the same 3 of you, Vinodha, Niroshan, and Subun. 3 of you can have that discussion. Okay. Right. Good.
Hello.
Hello.
Tell me.
No, not for you, sir. We are going to discuss.
Niroshan,
No, sir, for others. Sir.
okay,
We discuss the question.
okay. Sorry. I'll keep silent. Right, okay.
Readings for us. Sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Niroshan, go ahead.
Okay. Let's read the question first, okay?
Huh?
Let's read the question. Do you want to do the theory one or the calculation?
Anything.
We'll go for the calculation. No negotiation.
All right. Okay.
Let's go
Theory
with the
part we'll
calculation.
discuss it, sir.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Quickly read the question in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. The things in figures are the important part to prepare in this budget. So shall we go ahead?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, they're asking to prepare the sales budget, right?
Yeah.
So for the sales budget, we have to divide it into 2 columns: blue cheese and ice creams, as there are 2 products. Okay. So in the first column, we can include budgeted sales, right? Budgeted sales figures should be for 160,000 for blue cheese and 240,000 for the ice cream. So for the sales budget, we have to find what is the total budgeted sales in prices. So in the next row, we can include unit price. It will be 10 for blue cheese and 5 for ice cream. So budgeted sales will be, we have to multiply those 2 figures we have mentioned earlier. So 160,000 into 10 and 240,000 into 5. So that will be the sales budget. Quite straightforward.
And how much did you get?
1.6 million and 1.2 million.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the second one
What
is,
sorry. No,
Yeah.
what you did was, like your format was put the ice cream and the blue cheese into 2, and then you prepared the sales budget for those items separately, right? Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then the second one is the purchasing budget.
Mm.
So for the purchasing budget, also I have followed the same
Same thing.
format. Yeah. 2 columns, blue cheese and ice creams, as in the first. First of all, we have to find out the production budget. So since they haven't given anything like closing inventory requirements, so no, this is for the
The beginning and ending part.
There is the decide inventory, right?
inventory.
So you say before the purchases budget, we have to go, I mean,
Yeah. We have to consider those things. This beginning and ending inventory for the
Yeah.
production thing, right?
Mm.
So generally, in this example, they are producing exactly the same they need to sell.
Mm.
You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How is
So
that relation?
because they haven't given anything else, any details. If they want something different, they would give the details. So we can prepare the production budget with that details. So we consider this in this production budget will be the same as the sales budget. So first of all, we can mention our production target will be 160,000 and 240,000, the same. And we have to add the closing inventory first. So 12,000 and 5,000 simultaneously we have to add into those two products. Thereafter, we have to less deduct our opening inventory. That will be 10,000 and 4,000. So the purchasing requirement would be when you calculate that 162,000 and 241,000. So to find out the purchase budget, we have to multiply our purchase requirement by unit cost. Those are given as 8
That's
and 2. Yeah.
for different. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So we can multiply 162,000 by 8 and 241,000 by 2. Yeah, that's the raw material requirement. So we will find our purchase budget as 1,296,000 and 482,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have to prepare a budgeted income statement, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, what's the first thing
But
comes to the
for that, what's the format did you? I mean, because like, did you usually
general income statement format.
same way, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
All right. Okay, got it. Go on.
Okay. First of all, we are finding our revenue. It's the first element in the P&L. So revenue will be what?
106,
1.6 million plus 1.2 million. Yeah.
2 million.
Yeah. So it's 2.8 million.
2.8.
So yeah. Then we have to deduct our cost of sales. Cost of sales will be what? It's our purchasing budget, right? That's what we purchase to do this production. So it will be 1.296 million plus 482,000. The gross profit will be the balance of that. It is 866,000. So thereafter, they have given some information. Yeah, the selling and administration overhead for the month amount to 90,000. And in the fourth point also, they have given some selling and administration expenses, include depreciation amount to 450,000 for the month, right? So I think
they have given the employee wages and salaries in the first point as well, right?
Yeah, what is that?
Financial information.
So this is the selling and admin. Yeah. Okay.
Employees wages. I think those should be included in the manufacturing cost, right? Employees wages and salaries, that's production.
Selling and
salaries and commission.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I think because this is production related, employee wages and salaries and commission expenses, those are production related. So it should go under the fixed and variable costs of this production thing. So it is included in the cost of sales. It should be
Okay,
right.
that should be okay.
Okay, so I think we don't have to consider it for the P&L. So I don't know. According to me, maybe I'm wrong.
So what about the other cost? 90,000 and all that?
Yeah,
That's the
that we have
selling
to
and
include. Yeah, selling and admin expenses we have to add
add in
450,000 and 90,000. Yeah, it's 540,000. So there's another thing, bad debts and expected
Yeah.
to this are we raise it up to 2% of sales. So 2% of sales means sales is 1.6 million plus 1.2 million, no? 2.8 million. So 2% of that will be the bad debt. So it's 56,000. So when we deduct those S&D expenses and bad debts from our gross profit, we are arriving at our net profit, which is 270,000. What I got,
What did you get as the net income?
it's 270,000. What's yours? Is there anything wrong?
I think, I made a mistake in the purchases, but I think I had to redo that.
No, tell me your figures. Each figures. What's the
Yeah,
your
hello.
revenue?
No,
Yes.
we'll get back to this
Alright.
since we have to, we can't delay too much. So anyway, your doubts can be cleared. So let's see what the requirement is. So since you're more keen about the computational part of it, me too, we'll start with the computational part of it. So at the end of the day, what is required is prepare the sales budget, purchases budget, and the budgeted income statement. Right. So that is the requirement. Right. Sales budget, sales budget, purchase budget, and the budgeted income statement. So that is the requirement. So if you go by the description, Allcrook Cheese Company is a wholesale distributor of blue cheese and ice cream. The management accountant is currently preparing a quick budget for the month of July to estimate the profitability based on post-COVID-19 demand forecast and cost center rationalization measures adopted by the company. So they are relooking at their budget. Following information is projected for July 2020. We've been given some information. What is the information? Estimated sales. There are two types of products: blue cheese and ice cream. Cheese, the quantity and the price; ice cream, quantity and the price. Desired inventory: blue cheese, ice cream, again quantity. The inventory quantities have been given to you, right? Beginning and the ending inventory quantities. Estimated purchase cost: blue cheese and the ice cream, that is also given to you, right? So it's a very simple scenario. Employee wages and salaries and commissions expenses for July has been re-estimated to be 156,000. Selling and administration overhead for the month amounts to 90,000. Bad debt expected to rise to 2% of the sales, and selling and administrative expenses, including the depreciation, amounts to 450,000. So that is what the information that is given to you, right? Sales budget, purchase budget, and the budgeted income statement. So those are the things. So first of all, now that is the information. First of all, you have been asked to prepare the sales budget. So when you have to prepare the sales budget, you have blue cheese, whatever the blue cheese, ice cream, and the total. So there has to be 3 columns to the sales budget. Since there are 2 products, and you have to have 2 columns for the 2 products and 1 column for the total. That is the first starting point. The blue cheese, ice cream, and the total. Right? And then our sales budget means we need to know the selling price per unit, 10 and 5. Sales units, number of units, 160,000 and 240,000. And then revenue will be 160,000 into 10, 1.6, 240,000 into 5, 1.2, altogether 2.8 million. This is our revenue. Sales budget is this. Are we clear? Make another.
Yes, sir.
Right. Second one, purchases budget. So when it comes to the purchases budget, what are the different types of purchases that we have? Again, 2 products that you're purchasing, right? Who is a trading organization. If it is a manufacturing organization, your sales budget will be the products that you sell, and the purchases budget will be the raw material ingredients that you purchase. right? But here you buy and sell, so the purchases are the same as the sales, the denomination. So purchases budget, so blue cheese and ice cream. So purchases budget obviously is what? You have to have the purchases budget. Are you going, okay, so you can have the purchases budget in terms of the quantities when you do the purchases budget. How do you do it? Purchases is comprising of what? Sales, what? Sales. How do you calculate the purchases? Sales plus closing inventory minus the opening inventory, right? That's what we already discussed. Sales at closing inventory minus the opening inventory. So that is how first purchases budget in terms of units. And then you can multiply it by the price. So then that will be the purchases value, right? Again, very straightforward. So the sales units have been already given: 160,000 blue cheese, 240,000 ice cream. So this is your sales quantity. And then what are the closing inventories? What are the closing inventory values?
12,000 and 5,000.
Yeah, closing inventory 12,000 and 5,000. So add the closing inventory 12,000 and 5,000. And then the opening inventories will be 10 and 4. So minus the 10 and 4. So then you have 162,000 of blue cheese, ice cream 241,000. So you can't add the total, the quantity wise. So but this is what is required. Actually, this bit is meaningless. So this is the purchases budget, right? In terms of quantities. In terms of values, purchases value will be straight away that multiplied by the purchase cost per hoop 8 here, ice cream, and cottage cheese per gallon. Blue cheese per cheese per hoop, it will be 8, and the ice cream per gallon, it will be 2. So therefore, 162,000 units purchased at a price of 8 will be 1296. 241,000 gallons of ice cream at a price of 2, and then that will be 482,000, right? So altogether purchase cost will be 1,788,000. These are purchases budget. Okay, that is also a very straightforward. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. Done. And then the next step is we have been asked to budget income statement. So budgeting income statement, basically, unless otherwise stated, we will do the sales minus cost of sales, gross profit, minus the operating expenses, the operating profit, and minus the finance expenses, the net profit. And if there's a tax, after tax, profit before tax, and profit after tax. So that will be the flow, right? So straight away the sales, you don't have to do any calculations, right? So your sales will be 2.8 million. But you have been told that there's a bad debt are going to be 2% of sales. So therefore, you can have sales adjusted for bad debts. There you can adjust to under the operating cost here. Just now here in this sort of question, you are not worried too much about where you're going to make an adjustment. So sales net of bad debts will be 2,772,000. That is our turnover is anyway 2.8 million, but your bad debt provision is 2% of that. So once you do that, that means 98% of this is going to be your net of bad debts. Net sales is going to be so much. Sorry, I think my answer is not right. Bad debts is, I put 99 here is my answer actually. The bad debts are expected to rise to 2% of sales. So then it will be 0.98. So this is going to be the net sales, net of bad debts. Is this clear? Any confusion here? Any clarification? Basically, our turnover figure is so much, and our bad debt figure is so much into 0.02. So therefore, the net of bad debt will be this minus 6,744,000. That is the figure that you have given. Is that clear? How do they make it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then cost of sales. What is the cost of sales value? You can calculate it for the, actually, ideally speaking, you can calculate for the individual columns and then the total. Or since it's the income statement, you can straight away put the total figure. That is what I have done here. So cost of sales, how many units at what price? This is the purchaser's budget, right? Cost of sales would be what? For how many units at what price? How many units you sell? 160,000 here and 240,000 there. So therefore, my cost of sales is, you can see the formula, E24 into E28. E24 is sales units multiplied by the E28 is 8. So the cost of purchaser, cost of sales of blue cheese will be 160,000 units at a price of 8. Ice cream, it will be 240,000 units is the quantity that you sell, and the purchase cost of this 240,000 units will be at a price of 2. Therefore, the full cost of sales will be 1,760,000. Just we'll quickly go through and then I'll give you time to question. So gross profit is going to be so much. And then of course, the rest of it is a straightforward thing because you have been told that the employee wages and commissions expenses is re-estimated to be 156,000. Wages and commissions 156. Selling and administration overhead for the month amounts to 90,000. So that is that here. And the selling and administrative expenses, including the depreciation, amounts to 450,000 for the month. So this is that is there. So therefore, all the overhead except for the bad debt component, which I have anyway deducted here, so is going to be 696,000 is going to be the amount of overhead. These are our overheads. And on the other hand, cost of sales will be on 160,000 units that you sell at a cost of 8, and on the 240,000 ice cream gallons that you are going to sell at a cost of 5. So then cost of 2. So then that is the way you are going to get this figure here, cost of sales figure. So this is going to be the income statement. Is it clear? Are you clear about this, or you need any clarifications?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Right. Vinod, you okay?
Okay, sir.
Right. Right. Okay. So if at all, probably you may start thinking sometimes what a typical student who may get confused at all would be, instead of calculating this cost of sales, instead of calculating for the number of units sold, one may compute that into number of units purchased. That is wrong, because cost of sales is what is as costed due to purchase the goods that you have sold. So therefore it is cost of purchases, but this is the way you can do it. Now here, your opening inventory, closing inventory did not have different valuations. We did not have to go through the opening stock plus purchases minus the closing stock, that detailed calculation, because everything is coming at a price of 8, right? Opening inventory valuation complexity is not there. So therefore straight away I could have deducted the cost of sales. And for examinations also, if you get a question like this, you may not get those complications. Actually, it will be very straightforward. No, in the sense that the cost of sales computation will not be complicated like that. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So that is the theory, this part of it. And very quickly, in a couple of minutes, if you have to look at the theoretical part of it, right? A quick recap, not recap, really quick explanation. A properly structured budgetary planning and control system comprises of a number of individual budget components which are integrated from the master budget, coupled with the comprehensive review mechanism. So what are the different components that are integrated to the master budget? Yes. What are the different components that goes into the master budget? Can you tell me?
Sales budget.
Sales budget.
Production or purchase budget.
Okay.
Direct material, direct labor budget. And budgeted income statement and balance sheet. And the cash flow statement.
Okay, and okay, you can probably go one step further, because actually you are asked to explain with reasons and the stops which should normally be taken. So now remember, look at this. Now you have been given this. You are required to identify, you have been asked to identify and briefly explain with reasons the steps which should be normally taken in the preparation of master budget for a manufacturing company. Right? So you've been asked to say, what I asked you from the answer that Niroshan gave is what are the components that you have in a budget. But the question, if you explore the question, what they ask is you are required to identify and briefly explain with reasons. So you have to identify and explain with reasons the steps that should be normally taken in preparation of the master budget of a manufacturing company. Your explanation should indicate the main budget components which you think should normally be included. So then as a component thing, what I have asked, the question that I asked from Niroshan, you can mention about the, you have your sales budget, you have your purchases for the production budget, and then you have direct material budget, direct labor budget, material and the purchases budget, direct labor budgets, and then variable overhead budgets, and fixed overhead budgets, and the non-manufacturing overhead budgets, all those things which we'll put together into the income statement, balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. So then those are the components, right? So when you say ask to explain the reason, the steps, so then you have to start by saying that you'll be starting with what is the budget that you're going to start preparing the budget? Which budget will you start working with?
With the sales budget.
We will be starting with the sales budget. And then based on the sales budget, what we'll be doing after the sales budget, with the sales budget, we'll estimate what are the quantities and what are the prices and generate the total revenue. And based on the sales budget, what will you prepare? Based on the sales budget, what is the next thing?
Production budget.
Production budget. So in order to meet the sales requirement, demand, as well as to meet the inventory requirement, what is the number of units that you have to produce? So that is the second thing that you should look at based on the sales demand. But at the same time, you can make a comment for it to make a better answer, that sometimes you may do the sales budget and do the production budget. So then we may not have enough capacity to do the production that is required for sales. So therefore, you may have to start looking at the same time, either once you look at the sales budget, you can look at the capacity budget to see what is the capacity that's available, or else you can say, you can look at what is the limiting factor, like whether it is the sales or production or whatever. You can start with the limiting factor and then you can move forward. But more straightforward one will be, you look at the sales budget and then you make an estimate of the production budget, production requirement, and see whether the capacities are matching. If the capacities are too little, right, then you need to expand. If the capacities are too much, so then we need to look at rationalizing our orders or outsourcing some of the orders. So like that, you look at the sales budget and production budget. So that is what is explained here. As in any budget should start with the objectives based on the strategic direction. Of course, you can mention even that any budget will be basing on the strategic direction. And sales budget will be the primary budget, but this needs to be prepared matching with the capacity. So capacities may be the production capacity, the people, the production modules, the machinery modules, or raw material availability, or whatever that is, those are the limiting factors you need to consider alongside. Also, any production bottlenecks need to be considered, right? In addition to that, you need to consider whatever the production bottlenecks, like I told you, machine capacity, space, material availability, and all that. Then the raw material requirement budget based on the assumption that has to be matched with the inventories, determine the purchases budget. And then once you do that, once that is done, direct labor and production overhead budget can be prepared. Direct labor and production overhead budget. This can be processed to selling and administration budgets, and then the balance sheet, cash flow need to be prepared together with the interest costs. Will have a link. Finally, all three budgets can be finalized, and capital expenditure budget also needs to be done along with the respective budget. So capex budget also should come. Right? These are the couple of things. And manpower budget you also can mention sometimes. So these are some of the things that you can look at. Once again, this is a 7-mark question. So that means you're going to spend about 12 to 13 minutes on this. So which means you need to write a comprehensive answer question like this. Right? So therefore, if you need not carry all these points, but at least 90% of these things, if you are discussed, you would get probably full marks. But if you capture a narrow picture only, so then you may not be getting the desired amount of marks. Especially from this, you should go to the balance sheet, cash flow statement, and the income statement. And you can also touch up, like I mentioned here, the capital expenditure budget and the manpower requirement. So this is the question. Are we okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So now we have completed budgeting question as well. I think we have to call it a day with this. Any other clarification that you have on this, any of the question that we did today? Any clarifications on any of the question that we did today? Are we okay? Are we all good?
So can we quickly go through the December 2020 paper on what areas the particular question has arisen?
December 2020. Anyway, now since we are not going to have the exam, what we can do is we can take a revision lecture actually in the next class as well, our usual time slot.
Okay.
But still, if you want, we will just see. Let me see. Give me a minute, right? I'll just get the question. Okay, here I got the paper. Right? So this is the paper. First question. Again, you have year 1, year 2, year 1, year 2, sporting goods division and the camping division. So it is a ROI calculation, right? And then obviously in a situation like this, you may be asked to comment the ROI changes from this year to this year, and then break down the DuPont two-stage breakdown. All that may come in. So this is that. A question like that is the first question. Second question is CVP analysis question and little bit of a sensitivity, the sort of an analysis. You can try this question actually before at the next class. So because you can do it today, that will be the best because you already did a question on this area in this morning. So you can try this question. This is CVP analysis question. Third one is, say you have 2 products and it's a ABC costing question, right? Question 4 is a budgeting question, somewhat similar, not the production-oriented one, but a different one. Question 5, it's a transfer pricing question. And 6 is cost-benefit analysis, but you can see this is one scenario, so therefore more questions, and then probably the depth here maybe more. And then question 7, service costing question. This question is very much similar to one of the previous questions. Probably why it would have been given could be the reason that many students may not have attempted this question in one of the early examinations. So therefore, in a situation like that, similar questions can come in, right? So this is basically, these are the areas. Vinod?
Okay, sir, I got it.
Right. Evanang api namattamuda? Oh, hello?
Okay, sir.
Right. Also, just to ask
And
from you, right? This is just to get your idea. Now, say we don't think it's going to happen, but now let us say having a exam where you answer on a computer, right? Say for example, management accounting paper, you're going to answer on a computer, not a pen and pencil. What do you think? What is the immediate reaction?
It will be easy, sir. It will be easy, I think.
It will be easy, Niroshan. Vinod, what is your comment?
I'm not that much familiar.
Not that familiar with that Excel. Okay. What about Supun?
I think I'm okay. Either way, I practiced both ways.
Practice both ways. Nadir, are you there?
Anyway, what is
Yeah, tell me, Vinod. Yeah, tell me, Vinod. Yeah, sorry, you're trying to say
no,
something.
what is your decision, sir? We'll adjust according to that, sir.
No, there's no decision as such. But Nadir, what is your view?
Either way is okay, sir. Because actually,
way.
when it comes to now the sums that we are doing, sometimes it's more better to do it on an Excel than what do you call doing it on paper, because the formats and calculations and all can be done.
Mm.
So it may be easier on the PC than the paper, especially with calculations and all.
Right. Okay, so that's the thing. We know that what you said is right, but at the same time, now here, even though you learn a lot of things on Excel, but here it is just what you need to do is just adding, summation, minuses, multiplication. That's all. It's just the basic arithmetic thing. So if you are not very weak on the computer, probably you can do things faster because you can copy paste things and you know the structure. Once you do it, you don't have to use the calculator to do the computation. You can just put the formula, but simple formula. But okay, you'll see. No, there is no decision as such. But what I asked you, the question is due to some unforeseen reason, if it continues to get extended, which we don't think will happen, but then for you to give an option to complete the exam, there is also something that we can think of. That's why I just wanted to get your idea. Anything to add it to that?
Actually, sir, that will also be good. Only problem, sir, when it comes to certain participants about the connectivity. So at that time, if there is any signal down or any other issues, you know how we are going to manage it. So that's because even currently in the country, you see, connection is not that great in most places. So unless we maybe that could be an issue, but I think it all can be managed. Prepare early and get a proper connection, paid up, and all the things we can do, since it's going to be maximum 3 hours, sir.
Yes.
So it's something to think about. We can.
But this thing, if it is a prolonged scenario, that is what we are looking at. The only thing is, like you said, there can be a connectivity can be one thing. The other scenario is sometimes what can happen is the power failures, and your computer doesn't have 3 hours to sustain. So if there's a power cut, and then at least if you keep the phone charged fully, you can even use the mobile hotspot for a short while. But on the other hand, if the power drains, so if there's a power cut, then there can be a problem. But then again, it's very unlikely that you'll have a 3-hour power cut. But there can be some of you whose computer doesn't have any battery at all if it is not plugged onto the main power.
No, but
that be a
what
problem.
we can do, sir, we can inform ahead, and if each student can, prepare themselves, equip themselves, then maybe that could be explored, sir. Because I mean, the shortcomings or drawbacks. If we prepare ahead, maybe with a few days' notice, we can borrow a better laptop from a friend or something like that, and maybe prepare ourselves as well if this is getting prolonged, like you said, sir.
Right. Okay. Good. What are any other views? Others? Erosion. So, Supun, anything else to be added?
Not by me.
So for me also, don't take me as a problem. If so, I'll adjust according to that, sir.
Now we'll see. Now it's not about 4 of you, but the other subject, not this particular class, we have lesser number, but other subject we have more than 50, about 55 students. So we have to make a recommendation considering both groups. Let's see what we can do. Hari, thank you for the ideas.
Then wish you a very happy birthday, sir.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, sir. We should have wished first itself. But sir, we missed the party, sir.
Yeah,
so we'll have that on the exam days.
Let's celebrate.
Sure. ඒක තමයි දැන් ඔක්කොම ගෙවල් වල ඉඳලා කට්ටියට එපා වෙලා අපි ඔෆිස් එකේ කට්ටියටත් එපා වෙලා කන්ටිනියුස්ලි වෙනවා දෙයක්.
So anyways, all the best to you, sir.
Thank you. Most of you go to the office, right? But anyway, Nadir, you go to the office, right? On certain days.
On certain days, yes, sir.
Vinod, what about you? You are at the plantation.
Yeah, we are at the plantation. We don't feel that all these lockdown and other restrictions. We are working very freely, sir.
Yeah,
in the
for you
set
life hasn't
boundaries.
changed. For you life hasn't changed.
No, my life hasn't changed.
Okay. Niroshan, what about you? Again, you are also like Nadir. Some days you go, right?
Yeah, that's right, sir.
Right. Okay. Good. Supun, what about you? You're working from home.
Yeah, working from home. So anyway, like because my commute is about 1.5 hours, so they asked me to stay put. Otherwise,
Where
I'll be
is your operation?
it's actually in Delgoda, in the
Delgoda.
Biagama.
Yeah,
sales
I know. Right. Okay, so it's a bit far, no?
from there.
Okay, then. So we'll call it a day, and we'll meet up. Not meet up. Yeah, we'll have the lecture next Saturday. Also, we'll have a lecture, and we'll quickly catch up the paper that you done. Now it is ideal time for you to revise. You now have a fairly good idea about the type of paper, and if you just try, if you have time, just try and try to do the paper before you start doing it. So that will give you a flavor of exam. If you try to once you try these questions, just try to time and do the paper, the last paper, for it if you really want to experience the exam. Okay, we'll wind up with that then. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye,
Thanks.
sir.
Okay. Bye.